Greetings. Today I'm doing a video on the xrite color checker classic that I have here. I've been using this for over 3 years now, and they recommend that you update them every year or two. And I've updated to the new calibrite color checker passport, but what I want to do in this video is to see how the older xrite color checker classic holds up to the new color target here. Also to keep in mind that when the target's not in use, I just store it away in a safe place and it doesn't get exposed to light all the time. So the little cover here for the target, the xrite color checker classic, I just have a bit of blue tape around there to keep it intact. And we're going to see how creating a profile with the older version will match up to the new calibrite color checker, and how often do we need to upgrade these things. So I'll put that out of the road. We'll come to the new calibrite color checker here. So if you know anything about color management, you'll be familiar with this and the reasons why we have them. And it's more for color accuracy. This is why these colors are created. So I'll open up the color checker passport here, the color target. So we can see here we have the color target. Now it's calibrite. Also, when starting to use the new calibrite color checker passport, with the plastic, when I'm closing it, see there, it starts to flex and it almost feels like it wants to give way. But what I do is I put my thumb in the center here and avoiding the color patches, not to get any oil or debris on there, and just waiting for that first click and then closing it from there. Also on the back here we have our grey card and our white card. So I'll open this up. So to set up for these photos, I'm either going to use the grey card here for exposure or the Sekonic light meter. And to create a custom white balance within the Panasonic S5 here, I'm going to use the white card. So when I close this, it's a lot easier to close the rear with the white card and the grey card there compared to the front, but it feels fairly secure when it's all closed up. It's not really going to open easily. One thing to keep in mind as well, I would mention, is when it comes to white balance, when we white balance in the software, these patches, such as the 18% grain air white patch, they're designed to be neutral. Not like changing the color temperature in the sliders, but we're neutralizing the image. So we have a starting point and our whites are white, and whatever our colors are within that picture, they will be accurate. Also, one of the things I would mention is the light that I have here lighting the video. It's a 5600 Kelvin light, and in camera in the Panasonic that it's set to daylight white balance. So the image you're going to see in the video is going to look different compared to the image taken as a photo and then corrected. They have a color checker for video as well, but this is specifically for photography, and if anybody's interested, and how long these will actually last. So I'm going to use two images here to show the color profiles being applied. So if you've never seen this program before, this is a program called Raw Therapy. So if you're watching this and you've never heard of this program, or it's the first time you've seen it, don't be too concerned about the actual program. I'm looking at the color profiles created with the xrite color checker and the calibrite. So as I mentioned earlier in the video, in the Panasonic S5 I've created a custom white balance for these images, and one of the tools available in Raw Therapy, we have a tool called the lockable color picker, which enables us to see the RGB values. So I'll just activate the tool, and I'll click on the grey card here, and I'll just expand this so we can see the values. So I use this for the exposure, but we can see the RGB values are right on point, 49.4, 49.4, 49.4. So in these images, I'm not going to touch the white balance at all. I'm just going to apply the calibrite profile and the xrite profile to the images that we're about to see. So the image here I have of coffee and chocolate cake, and we can see here the plate that it's sitting on, and applying the profiles we're going to see the color changes within the image. Now if I go to the color tab and I come down to color management, we can see a Panasonic and it's the S5, and I'm using the standard picture profile. So if somebody has a Canon, a Nikon, a Sony, we all understand that they use a different color science for each camera, and within each camera we have different picture profiles. So I'm going to swap this out for a custom tone curve, and I'll be back shortly and we can see the results. So I've applied the profiles. I've taken a few snapshots of the different profiles. So we have the Panasonic S5 standard. Here I have the calibrite and the xrite. So now I'll show the calibrite, and we can see the color shift there, the color changes within the image. So if I just go back again, this is the standard. We keep an eye on, I'll zoom in a bit. So if we keep an eye on the colors on the plate, also in the coffee, we can see the changes there. If we have a look in the cake here, let's go back to the standard. So it's a little bit brighter. Try the calibrite profile. See there, it gets a little richer in color. Let's have a look in these shadows down here. Really see that color change within the image. So there's the color change there. So now I'll go from the calibrite to the xrite. We can see how much of a change there is. If we keep an eye on the vector scope here, we can see how much this shifts. There's the xrite profile. We have a look on the vector scope, go back to the calibrite, slight change there. Back to the xrite. But if we come to the plate here, let's have a look here. This is the xrite. We'll go back to the calibrite. It looks very close. Look in the top here of the coffee. A little bit of a slight change there. The calibrite's quite nice. I think the xrite's holding up quite well. Can have a look in the color on the plate here. I think it's reasonably close. So let's go on to the next image. So here with the Panasonic standard profile, if we look up at the vector scope, we can see how the colors are being dispersed around that vector scope, and we can see the colors on the image here. So let's apply the calibrite profile first. We'll keep an eye on the vector scope to see how it affects the image. We can see how that turns and stretches out the vector scope. So let's go back to the Panasonic. You can see it's a lot tighter here in the vector scope. It shifts in color around the vector scope. So let's apply the calibrite once again. We can see the change there. And we can really see the colors change within the image, especially the carrot and the apple here. Not so much the cucumber with the greens, but the carrot and the apple really do change quite a lot. So let's go back to the Panasonic once again. We can see how the image presents itself with the standard profile and the calibrite there. So let's go from the calibrite to the xrite. So if we keep an eye on the vector scope here, we can see how much shift there is, or if the vector scope stretches out slightly. the xrite now, we can see it stretches out that vector scope slightly. So it's a little bit more saturation in the image. Now let's go back and keep an eye on the apple here and the carrot. This is the calibrite profile once again. I'll zoom in here, we'll take a closer look. And then the xrite profile. You can see a color shift there. Let's have another look. Once again, you see a little bit more saturation in the apple. See there, a slight shift as well. See the xrite, that red's a little deeper. So that's a look at the comparison between the xrite and the calibrite color target. I think with the 3+ years I've been using the target, I think it's holding up quite well compared to the new calibrite target. How often we update these things still? I think if we take care of them, not having them exposed to light all the time, keeping them in a safe place, I think they can last quite a few years. That'll all depend on the personal use of all of these tools. For myself, I like the convenience and the durability, the feeling of the Color Checker Passport. It feels durable. I can just put it in a bag and feel confident that the targets are not going to get damaged. Also, on the other hand, when using the xrite Color Checker Classic, the convenience of the small card, I can just slip it into a top pocket when I'm somewhere and I want to use the color target I'm taking photos. So they both have their place. So that's it for the video, and peace be unto you.